Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on this video. Today, I have several projects finished for y'all, and all of them have a little touch of blue. I love how every single one of them came out. Y'all let me know which one is your favorite, and we're going to get started right now. Our first project today is this gorgeous thrifted thick wooden frame. You know I squealed when I seen this laying at the thrift store. It didn't have anything inside of it, but it did come with a piece of glass. I believe I paid like $2 for this piece. We are removing the hanging hardware and the couple of nails that's holding in this piece of glass. I am not going to be reusing this glass. I typically just save my glass, hoping I will use it in a project and end up throwing it away. So this piece I just went ahead and threw away. Right now, we're going to give it a really good clean. This has some gorgeous details to it, and it was quite dirty. So once we get it cleaned, we're going to figure out what we're going to put in this frame. On a thrifting adventure in a different town, I found this piece of linen. I did pay a little up for this piece, but I absolutely loved the embroidered art on this piece, and I figured I could get my money's out of it. It has 3 of these gorgeous little birds, and I'm going to put this inside of my frame to just make it a quick project. That I know will go over very well for Valentine's and spring. And yes, I know my voice sounds a little different today. It's because it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to get this voiceover finished. Okay, so I have a piece of canvas here that I cut down. This piece came from the Dollar Tree. I cut it to fit inside of my frame, and I'm just simply going to hot glue the edges on the back side of the canvas, pulling the linen tight so it doesn't have many wrinkles in it. And y'all, this project was really that simple. I'm going to use my favorite framing gun that's on Amazon. Y'all, this is one of my favorite tools. If you're interested in my Amazon favorites, I have my Amazon store always linked down in my description box, but it makes upcycling frames a breeze. I resell my pieces, so I really like to finish them off very professionally. So I'm going to add some construction paper to the back of this frame using hot glue, and then I will sand off the edges and then add my new hanging hardware that I also get from a set on Amazon. Then I'm going to cut a piece of this bendable wire to fit and secure a new hanging wire. And that's it for this project. I absolutely love this. Super easy, super cute. I priced it for $27. Our next project, I thrifted 2 of these ginger jars for $2.99 each from Salvation Army. As you can see, they were blue and white, kind of like china pieces, and that's what I wanted to turn them back into. Now, this project went through a whole makeover before I realized I did not like it and started over, but we'll get to that point. I'm trying to show you all the excessive drip marks and just things that have to be sanded flat and flush before we can move on to painting. So I did take my electric sander and sand over the whole piece and just smoothed everything out, and now I'm going to come in and clean the piece inside and out. I was cleaning up the bottom of these pieces with my heat gun to remove the sticker, I had an idea. I was trying to envision these pieces back to its original state. So let me see if I can heat up this paint enough and scrape it off and just get the paint off the project. I worked at that thing for longer than on video, and it just wasn't worth my time. I could get these pieces looking similar by repainting them and doing something my way faster than it would take me to remove all this paint. But yes, I was a little mad at the person that painted these. No, I'm just playing. I'm not mad. They were being creative and they had a vision, and I just don't think they finished it, and that is a-okay. It happens to me all the time. We're starting off by painting both vases and the lids, just the exterior of these, with a couple coats of lamp white by Fusion Paint. This is an all-in-one paint. I want the finish on these vases to have little to no brush strokes, so I'm going to do light layers, and I'm going to keep my brush stroke direction going the same direction, and I'm going to sand in between coats. I did 3 light layers, sanding in between the first and second coat before moving on to the next step. The finish on these turned out wonderful, and I'm about to mess it up. Here is Vision 1. I planned on stamping them with a mix of Veranda and Countryside Memoirs IOD stamps with my permanent blue IOD ink. And y'all, not saying that it was bad when I finished, it's just not what I wanted. I think, considering I am not the best stamper on curved surfaces, I did well. My friend Julie looked at these and said she liked them. Maybe I just went too heavy on the stamping and I should have kept it more simple. But either way, I'm just stamping both of these with different designs out of those two out of those two stamp books, and then it just sat. It sat for a couple days with me staring at it, and I just did not like the results. So I decided to paint over it. And if you have ever painted over blue ink, you know how much of a pain that is because it wants to keep on bleeding back through. So my finish the second time was not the best, but we carried on and I pulled out Def Traditions in the blue design. This is a paint inlay. And I haven't used it many times, but I think it's gorgeous, and I'm going to cut out a few different designs to get my creative juices flowing and just kind of look at the different pieces and figure out what I want to go with. Once I got placement figured out, I'm going to start applying the paint inlay to our first ginger jar. I misted the paint side of my paint inlay, and I'm going to use my polyacrylic mat as the medium to apply my paint inlay to. And I like to kind of work in sections, and no, I did not center this perfectly, but it's okay. I'm not doing this a third time. So I applied my polyacrylic to the bottom half, placed the inlay into the wet medium, and then I finished applying it to the top half, rubbing that paint inlay into that wet medium well, and then re-misting the top side of the paint inlay. I used a blue shop towel to get rid of the excess water, and when I did that, the ink underneath it smeared, but that is a-okay. We're not going for perfection. We're just going for something different than the first vision. I dried it with my heat gun, re-wet the design, and then peeled it up, and I like it. I like it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I continued on with a more simpler design on the left and right side, and I decided not to put anything on the back of this ginger jar. Raise your hand and let me know down in the comments if you are still scared to use paint inlays. I hear this so often, and I just want to encourage you to just try one out. And my way of doing that is whenever you order something from my website right now, you are going to get a free paint inlay sample to test out and not have to worry about wasted money, because that's what I hear. These things are expensive, and you just don't want to mess it up and waste the money. So if you don't have to pay for it, I feel like that is a lot less stress off of you. So I just wanted to let y'all know that now is the time to try it out when you order something from my website. As you can see, I did add these two parallel pieces on the ginger jar lid, and man, it came out perfect. I wanted to add some kind of detail to the lids. So now we're moving on to our second ginger jar. I'm not going to add a lot to this one, but I grabbed out this trim piece, and when you're going around a weird surface, it's important to do what I'm doing right here and add some relief cuts. I did this to the top and bottom so I can kind of like fold it and reposition it. You'll kind of see it right here. But I, again, wet misted the paint side of my paint inlay, applied my polyacrylic to a small section, and I'm just going to slowly wrap this trim around the base of the ginger jar, rubbing it smooth with my fingers. I decided to do each paint inlay one at a time when doing this project. Of course, you don't have to do it like that, but I was just kind of adding one, seeing how I liked it, then adding the next, making sure I liked it instead of committing all at one time, if that makes sense. But I really, 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 really loved this trim piece on the bottom of this ginger jar. So I wanted to kind of bring that same detail to the lid. So I took a design from that same book and I cut a hole in the center of it so I could wrap it around the circle part of the lid. Now this one did have a lot of wrinkles in it, but I just made sure that the wrinkles were as flat as possible and just kind of folded the inlay over itself to make sure it made contact in every area. And it was a gamble, but it turned out almost perfect. I took both ginger jars outside and gave them 2 layers of a clear spray sealer by Rust-Oleum. Let that dry, and now we're going to come in and add some age and character. I actually picked up this from Emily at J. Bowen and Company. I got the classic crackle this time, the steel 2-part component system, instead of the fine line crackle. I had never tried the classic crackle, but it works very similar to the one you were used to me seeing. But I'm going to apply component 1 all over both of our ginger jars and on our lids. It is very important that you seal up this paint inlay before doing this step, or that paint will smear. Now component 1 is dry, I'm coming in with component 2, and I gotta say, I like this classic crackle a little bit more because component 2 is not that amber hue. It's more of a cloudy, and you don't have to worry about that amber hue running if you get runs in your piece. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to bring out the classic crackle with the Pent Arts antiquing paste. I did that in some areas, and since the classic crackle is a water-based product instead of solvent-based like the fine line crackle, I decided to come in with a baby wipe and my Fusion Agent Wax to add a different color to just some areas, and I kind of mixed the two together. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these two ginger jars. Did you like the stamping more or the paint inlay? I have to say I like the paint inlay more, and I love that classic crackle. It is gorgeous to me. If I had to pick between the two ginger jars, I prefer the second one more. It's much simple, and I just really love the trim piece on the lid and the bottom. Y'all let me know which vision was your favorite and which completed ginger jar is your favorite. I priced the larger one for $37 and the smaller one for $33. Our next set of projects is a very, very simple one, but let me tell you, quick sellers. Here I have some Hobby Lobby greenery. I always pick this up when it's 40% off, and I have some candlesticks in all different colors, all different shapes, and all different sizes. Some of these I had in my stash, others I picked up for 25 cents from the Habitat for Restore. So I'm going to bundle these up with some twine. I'm going to have 3 candles, different shapes and sizes, a piece of greenery, and a piece of baby's breath in it. And I'm just going to wrap some twine around it securely and then tie a bow. I did come back in and add different color chiffon ribbon to these, and I didn't record that piece, and it is what made the project come to life. I think this is a very simple project, but like I said, they were great sellers. I priced them for $12 a bundle, and they pretty much sold within 24 hours. I believe I have one bundle left. They're cute fillers, and they just add a pop of color to any vignette. Moving on to our last project. I had a piece of furniture sale, so that means I need to get a piece of furniture done. This piece was free. It came out of that friend's barn, and it was dirty. It is a hand-built piece. I know that from the construction of it. And it had several things living in it while it was living in the barn. So this piece really needs a thorough vacuuming and cleaning. I found this, I guess, beer bottle in there and a scraper tool. So that was pretty cool. After I finished getting all the living and nesting things out of the dresser, I started sanding the top. I am stripping the top back to its natural state using a 80 grit sandpaper first, and then working my way up through the grits to a 120, 180, and then 220. I wanted this to be a two-toned dresser when I got done with it because they're great sellers and it's my personal favorite way of redoing a dresser. I did go ahead and fill in the holes to the hardware off the camber with some Bondo, and I gave the rest of the piece a good scuff sand. gave everything another clean, and now we're going to prime the body of the dresser with a couple coats of clear shellac. I'm going to be using a milk paint on this piece, so I'm hoping if I prime this wood with a couple coats of this clear shellac, I will have some perfect chipping and crackling. The past 2 months, I've had a surprisingly amount of furniture move inside of my booth, meaning a lot of pieces are selling. Y'all let me know how furniture is doing in your area. To add some color back into the top, I'm going to use my Paint Couture Van Dyke Brown Antiquing Glaze as a stain. In order to have more control in wiping back this glaze, I decided to heavily mist the top of the furniture piece. And then I'm just going to brush it on evenly as possible, and once I get the top brushed on, I'm going to come in and wipe any excess back, and then I will go around the edges the same way. I really need y'all to applaud me right now. We're going blue for this piece. I'm going to mix several different opened milk paint containers that I just want to get used up. I did 2 scoops of Birdie, 2 scoops of Juniper, and 1 scoop of Moody Blue. So I added 5 scoops of water. I'm going to mix that together well and let it sit and thicken up for a bit before applying our first coat. I was just trying to get some milk paint used up here. I have a lot of open packets, but if you need a one color comparison, Kent, the Bespoke brand by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, is probably very close. That was actually my inspiration for this piece, was matching the jewelry box we did a couple weeks ago. Has me really in love with this blue color. Now, y'all know I love green furniture. So it was really hard for me not to paint this piece green because I know green furniture sells. And I love it. And it matches well in my booth. But I told myself in the beginning of January I wanted to start adding blue to my booth. And that's kind of what this whole video has been about pretty much. Adding pops of blue. So we're adding our first layer here. The first layer of milk paint goes on a little thin, but you just got to trust the process, get that first layer on, and when you come back in and add that second layer, it really grabs on to that bottom coat and the coverage is wonderful. I did 2 coats on the body of the dresser and 2 coats on the drawers. Once I got the first layer of milk paint on the entire dresser, minus the top, y'all, I really started second guessing myself. Like, this blue color was a bit too bright, and I was kind of talking myself out of this color. I asked my mom to come look at it, and she said, I don't know, Bailey, it just doesn't seem like you. And I said, well, let me go ahead and put my second layer on. I did that on the whole piece, and I stared at it, and y'all, I was like this close to painting it white, but I decided to come in with Fusion's Agent Wax and seeing if that could darken it up, and I started liking it after that. But back to what I'm doing right here, I'm trying to force some crackle because it was not crackling with my heat gun after I got that second coat on, and I distressed the piece hoping I would like the color more once it was aged and distressed. And here is when I was like, okay, let me grab the Fusion Agent Wax and let's deepen this color up and add some age and see how it looks. I wasn't even halfway done with the first drawer of adding the agent wax, and I knew this project was going to be fine, and I was going to like it, and I was going to like the color, and it was going to be good. So I continued on adding the Fusion agent wax, but when I came back in to wipe it back, I didn't wipe it back heavy. I wanted to leave a lot of that agent wax and so it could be dark and try not to buff a lot of it off. And look at the difference, y'all, between these two drawers. The one on the left is my jam, the one on the right is not. I'm sorry. Now let's add a sealer and some more color to the top. That Antique and Glaze was just watered down too much and it was just not dark enough. So I'm coming in with my Fusion Agent Wax to add some more color and just deepen it up. I brushed it on, let it soak in for a few minutes, and then wiped it off very well. Our next step was to bring some life and some moisture back to the inside of the drawers. This is a very important step when redoing wood furniture. Look at that difference. I usually use Howard's Howard's Feed and Wax, and I much prefer that product. But I was out and I had this beeswax sample in my stash and wanted to get it used up. I used this whole jar. It soaked it in, y'all. And now I wanted to show y'all the hardware I bought on Amazon for this piece. That's why I didn't fill in the top drawer holes, but it just did not match the dresser. My mama really liked that plan, but I did not, so I went back on Amazon and ordered the library card pulls, and we're going to get these measured and installed. I just think this hardware much better fits the design and character of the piece. So I'm going to measure both directions, 8 inches from the left, 8 inches from the right, and down 3 inches. And I'm going to pre-drill those holes and add my 2 screws. I have this booklet of receipt papers. I got this off of Temu, and it comes with a lot of different pages. I went through it and grabbed some designs that had a blue hue to it, like the text in it was blue and kind of matched the color of the dresser. And I'm going to cut these down to fit in my card catalog pulls for each drawer. And that is it for this furniture makeover. I absolutely love how this one came out. Y'all let me know what you think. And I apologize for the poor lighting in these final shots. It just was not giving what I wanted it to give. I priced this piece for $250 and I've had a little bit of interest on it, but it has not sold yet. And that is all I have for y'all today, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed these Bringing in the Blue thrift flip projects. Y'all let me know which one is your favorite. And if you got any inspiration from today's video, hit that like button. Definitely leave a comment down below and consider subscribing if you have not already. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.